let's talk about repair procedure under paragraph 8, repairs. This is a particular choice you make. Under repair procedure, the buyer will say, I want to make sure these 9 systems in the house are working properly. And that's the goal, is to make sure that they are truly working properly on the day of closing, that if there's anything to be repaired. But it's only those systems. It's not, I want the tree out of the backyard, or I want this, or I want that. It's just simply these 9, big 9, I call them the big 9 systems. So under this, you have to see the blank here. We've picked repair procedure, and it says all repair procedure inspections and requests shall be completed and delivered to the seller by 6 p.m. on a certain date. So this is where the buyer normally would propose that I have until this date to complete all my inspections, to fill out a repair request that we're going to discuss as we discuss in another video, and I'm going to deliver that to you, and that's saying, seller, I want you to make all these repairs. Okay. This is negotiation number 2. We got the contract now. Can we agree on the repairs to be made? Seller then looks through all of this, and no later than a certain date, you see the big blank there in the contract, seller shall deliver a notice agreeing or not agreeing to make these repairs. Okay, so buyer has till this date, does all the inspections, and it goes through. You can read through here. For instance, the heating systems, the air conditioning systems, electrical systems, plumbing systems. But notice here when we get to the roof, the roof just has to be free of leaks. So buyer, don't pick this thinking, okay, the roof is not leaking, but it only has 1 year useful life. Seller is not required to put a new roof on the house. The seller is just required to repair leaks. So you need to watch out for that. So seller, when you get this repair request from the buyer, then you will have till this date to determine, am I going to make all those repairs, or I'm not going to make all those repairs. You may say, I'm not making all those repairs, seller. But remember, if this buyer sees all of these problems, the next buyer probably is too. So you may want to consider whether or not, is this something I'm going to have to repair no matter which buyer comes into here. Right above that, just so you'll know, buyers and sellers, it does have the inspections that can be done. So before we get to the seller having to answer, it talks about all the different inspections that need to be done. So at this point, the seller looks over and says, I will make these, I will not make these, I'm not making any of these, or I will make all of these repairs. At the point the seller agrees to make all of the repairs, buyer, you are locked in. You have a contract. You are now going to closing. There's no further negotiation. But whereas the contract says the seller shall deliver notice, it goes back then in the next paragraph and says if the seller doesn't deliver notice. So you shall, but if they don't. If the seller does not agree to make all the repairs, the buyer has 2 calendar days to decide what he or she is going to do. And it gives you options here. One option is just accept the property as it is. The second option is to negotiate a new contract with the seller, which seems a little unfair. They don't answer, you're bidding against yourself, but just realize that's the way the contract is. So you can make your decisions accordingly. Or number 3, you can terminate the contract, buyer. So you give this list of repairs, seller doesn't answer, or seller doesn't agree to make them all. You have choices of what you want to do, and one of them is terminate the contract. Okay, that's why I said under this paragraph, many times there are some repairs made. Look at the notice in bold, right there at the end. If buyer fails to accept, renegotiate, get amended contract to terminate, within 2 calendar days, the buyer, you are buying the property as is. So make sure all of these deadlines that you look at them and that you meet them, because if you just inadvertently don't meet one of them, remember in the contract up at the top, if you haven't looked at it already, look at the first paragraph under parties where it talks about time is of the essence. Now, the contract does have here in the middle some things that are not considered seller paid repairs. Home maintenance, flooring, fogged windows, they work. It's kind of like the roof, isn't leaking. May not have much life, but it's not leaking well. The windows are closed. They're keeping the air out. Grandfathered code issues, landscaping, preventative maintenance, cosmetics, home improvement, energy. These are things that the seller is not considered seller paid repairs.